Hi, my name's Ian Wallace. I call myself the Messed Up Counsellor, which is quite an intriguing name. And the podcast you're about to see is one of many, and we've been doing about a year now. So you can look back and see all the things we've talked about with guests and on my own over the process. A lot of the information I use in the podcast initially came from the first book I wrote in 2011. Why do we do that? What do we do about it? And that came out and was the basis of all my learning, understanding at that time, which is going back a few years now. And that process of understanding how the world works for people, how we can alter, change, and adapt it, was kind of what it was there to do with the initial stages. I've made that now an audiobook as well, so it's available on Amazon as an audio file that you can check out and you can download to your heart's content, and hopefully that will be helpful. In the podcasts, we're trying to look at all sorts of things about human interactions, human dynamics, the world, and how we might understand it more or change it more. So it gives you lots of ideas and tools in order to think about and look at different ways of being or dealing with things. And hopefully that brings people together and makes people more able to connect and communicate. Lots of topics. If you ever want to connect to me, just obviously drop me a comment on the podcast and I shall try as much as possible to reply. And if you've got any ideas of things that we might want to use on the podcasts, then please let me know. My name's Ian Wallace. Thanks for looking and thanks for listening. Hi, welcome to another wonderful podcast by Ian Wallace, the Messed Up Counsellor. Today what I'd look at is Becoming You, a Journey of Discovery is what I've titled it. And a lot of my work with individuals is trying to be them in some way, shape or form. Something's occurring in their world and their life that they're not happy with, they don't want, or, they're reacting to, or something about them they want to change, grow, develop, whatever it is that we're working with. And that process is usually around them not feeling as though they're fully them. Who am I? What am I? What do I want? Where do I want to be? Those kind of questions are not unusual and uncommon for people like myself to deal with people when they're coming into the counselling process. And it got me thinking with some work I did last week about whether or not we can fully be, ever be. Fully be, ever be? That's one way of putting it. Fully be us, and how we can kind of change, alter, modify us for the benefit of other people. I mean, we're always in relationship with somebody, whether it's ourselves or another person, in our dialogue, in our connection. So we're always mindful of what that other person is maybe wanting from us, what they need from us, how they may be upset. We're always part of us, never fully us, in my world. And that process means that, can we ever be fully us? Do we ever get the chance to be fully us? And what would that look like if we were? Those are fairly major questions, and I know there's no easy answer to these, so I'm not going to be able to give you exactly what that means today. But it's getting me thinking about how much of me is in an interaction with another person, whether that be in an intimate relationship or friendship or just in dialogue with you, the audience. The people who are listening to this, hopefully somebody is. And that process of, are we ever fully us? Now, okay, today you're seeing Ian, the counsellor, Ian, the podcaster. You're not seeing Ian. You're seeing a part of me, which I enjoy doing, and I'm glad I started. We've got over nearly 108, 109 episodes now, which is unbelievable, really, for 2 years. But there you go. So you're seeing this aspect of me. Now, if somebody comes to me as a client, they're seeing the counsellor, Ian. They won't see the podcaster, Ian. I probably wouldn't divulge as much of me in that counselling room as I have in this process that I've done over the last 2 years. And so there's going to be elements of me that are never in that process, and shouldn't be, to be fair, because that's not what that person is engaging with me for. So we have different aspects of us that we show to other people in other situations, scenarios. But we never fully give us. And I don't think that's a problem. I think that's normal. But it's, do we have a choice in what we give as us? All the parts of us. And if we were able to make our own autonomous choice in what we give of us, instead of thinking about how that might interact with the person in front of us or the people that are seeing us or sharing things with us, then would that be a better process, being fully us, if indeed we could ever do that? Now that's really kind of a weird process of thought, but it's one that is engaging with the work I do, and it's one that's hopefully engaging with you questioning these ideas and these questions that I'm posing. And that might be helpful in some people share more of themselves than maybe it is helpful, or maybe it is keeping them safe. Some people express themselves very well and they share everything. They're completely open book, as people call it. I've no idea if that's helpful or not helpful. Obviously, everybody's an individual. Some people it might be, some people it might not be. But if we have a conscious idea of what we feel comfortable sharing, not because of other people's interactions, reactions, but us, what I feel comfortable in sharing, then at least we're more in control of it. And we can be more honest, more open, more us. So different people get different parts of me, quite naturally. The same with yourselves. You don't do the same with everybody usually. And those different parts of me are sometimes allowed to be given, hidden sometimes. They're not necessarily appropriate sometimes. So there's always this formulation of where am I in this aspect of how much do I share, how much do I let people know. And that becomes sometimes an issue because we could share too much. We could let people in too much and they could harm us or hurt us or emotionally scar us. Or, they could go behind our backs and tell other people. The trust might be hit or the button might be hit of trust and those kind of things. So that aspect is one that we should think about. I don't think it should control us, but we certainly should be aware of it. Which part of us do I show in this situation? And that might change as you get more connected to people. As you share more with people, you will get closer, quite naturally. Maybe, though, we don't always know us either. Maybe there's a part of us that we don't know. We can't know. There's a concept called Johara's window, which is something that we use and makes us more reflective, understanding our world. But in that process, I won't bore you with the details, but in that process, there's kind of a small area in that window that means that there's parts that we don't know. We don't know. Now that sounds a bit weird, but it's the things that we react to that we don't understand why, and we don't understand where they come from. We just know we react. So there's a hidden piece even from ourselves. So that piece isn't actually shared with ourselves even. So there's always a piece that's hidden. And no matter how much reflection I do on me or my colleagues do, there'll always be a piece that we don't know, even about ourselves. It'll be hidden for all sorts of reasons. Sometimes to protect us, because we don't want to open up that drawer, that filing cabinet. Sometimes just because it's a behavioural thing that we're not aware of. And that process means that we will react our behaviour, but we won't know why. We won't know where it's coming from. We won't have necessarily a choice. It'll just be a reaction. Now, obviously, if we become aware of it, then it becomes a choice. But if we're not aware of it, it's a reaction. And reactions are always subconscious. They're always based usually on emotional input. We react to the emotional stimuli. But that being us and truly being us is a hard one, I think, to fully grasp. And I'm not sure as I've said, I'm not sure we should always be fully open. I think we always need to have some element of guarded process in order to make us safe, if nothing else. And we don't necessarily think about every interaction we have and looking at this kind of process. And I'm not sure that it's helpful to take it apart and put it back together again. I think the only thing I'm saying here is the more I can control what I want to do, how I want to be with other people, the more I will feel comfortable. I will feel happy. I will feel contented. Yeah, you've all presumably been in the situation where you've done a job that you've done for money, for a process of work. You don't really like it. You don't really kind of connect to it, but you've done it because you needed to do it. I've done that in the past. I've done all sorts of jobs. And so that process means that I won't be happy doing it fully, because it's not what I was passionate about, what I wanted to do. And I didn't know that until I came to this job when I was kind of 40s, really what I wanted to do in my life. But now I am happy doing the job I'm doing because I really do enjoy what I do and I'm really comfortable with what I do. But that process of growing, that process of getting to today, has been full of things that I did because I had to, really. You know, whether that's for money or for other people, or whatever. It was not necessarily a choice just for me. And I suppose that's what I'm saying. The more you can make choices just for you, the more comfortable you'll be. But if you're making choices for other people that define your world and your life, or your feelings, your emotions, there'll always be some form of resentment. Because I'm not truly happy, I'm not truly me. There's always going to be this gnawing process. And I've had that over the years when I've done jobs that I didn't really want to do. And I'd rather be somewhere else than at work till the wee hours in the morning. But that needs must. I had to pay mortgages, buy food. I had to eat. I had to do all those things. So there was a survival process, the reasons why I did what I did. But if I could be fully me, and I'm not sure I say I can do today, now, here, with me, in my own world and my own life, but the more I can be, the more content I will be. Which is kind of what I'm saying. So if you can have a look at the things, the aspects, the parts of you, And you can find somewhere in your world that those parts can be available, can be worked with, can be understood. There won't be in every connection. As I've said, you're seeing Ian the podcaster, Ian, not Ian the counsellor today, in a sense. So the other aspects of me, the other aspects of my world, my parts of me, I will get from different situations. And that's okay. No one aspect of me needs to be in everything I do. In that work, in that life, in that enjoyment, whatever it might be, hobbies, interests, connections, relationships, as long as there's a part in everything that I do that I'm content. So I like having holidays. I like going and seeing new things. But that's not going to be every day of the week. That's not going to be every week of the month. That's not going to be every month of the year. Obviously, I need to work and I need to earn a living and I need to do what I do. But it doesn't mean that I will not have that as part of my world. It just means that it can only be in certain parts of my world. When I'm on holiday, when I can afford to have time off, all those kind of things. So those aspects of me, the adventurer me, if you like, is not in everything I do. It's in part of my world, but it is an important part of my world, and it's an important thing to do. Now, if for whatever reason I could not do that, and if I made the choice, that's different to the choice being made for me, then if I made the choice, then I would cope with it. If the choice was made for me, I wouldn't necessarily cope with it. I would resent whatever stopped me making that choice to be the adventurer. And whether that's a person or an illness or whatever it is, that resentment would be there. So when you're looking at these aspects of you, try and make sure that they're somewhere in your world and your life, whatever it is. Because if it is, then you'll be more content. If it isn't, then there's going to be some aspects of resentment. And that will come out. Resentment does eventually come out. Not usually in the place the resentment is featured. Because, like all human beings, our emotions build in us and control us to a certain degree. And so our emotions build and build and build. So if, for example, I have got some resentment of not being able to do something that I wanted to do because something else came up and I had to go and do something, it took me away from the pleasure that I was going to have, then whatever came up, if I'd have made a choice to say, okay, yeah, I'll put that on the back burner, what I was going to do, and I'll do this instead, usually no problem. If somebody said to me, you can't do that, you've got to do this instead, and I didn't have a choice, then that resentment would be there. Now, it might not come out at that moment in that situation with that person maybe, but it would still be there. It would still gnawing away at me. So then if it happens again and again and again, it builds and builds and builds inside of me, then there might be a situation where I have to externalize those emotions. But I might not externalize them with the person that gave me the resentment. I might externalize them with one of my closest relationships, for example. You know, there's an old song, isn't there? You always hurt the one you love and one you shouldn't hurt at all. And that's true. I think that happens an awful lot. Because the one that you love, that you shouldn't hurt at all, they should be able to take it. They should be able to take my negative emotions, my feelings, my resentment, because they love me. So, but then that person says, wait, what have I done? Why am I getting this? What's all this? What is it about me that you don't like all of a sudden? And it's not necessarily because of that person. It could be, obviously, but it's not necessarily. And we kind of externalize those emotions because we have to get them out. Because if not, you know, like Mount Vesuvius, we're going to erupt process. So we have to get them out, but we don't necessarily always get them out in the right place. So when we're looking at these aspects of us, as I've said, try and make sure that all those parts of yourself are at least somewhere in your world. The parts you know, obviously. Because then you will cope. Yeah, I know now I've got a holiday booked this year. And so I'm looking forward to it. The adventure in me is looking forward to it. I'm not going to wait till 3 years' time, because then that part of me needs to be interacted with, needs to have some element of enjoyment, of pleasure. So the looking forward, I can cope. If I haven't got anything to look forward to, I probably won't cope. So that aspect of me, the adventurer, needs to be sustained somewhere, at some point, in some way. Because then I will cope with whatever happens before then. It's a crazy old world, isn't it? And as I do these podcasts and I talk about all these things I talk about, part of me is looking back and reflecting, and I'm using these podcasts to do so, which is helpful. It's probably boring for you, but it's helpful for me. But hopefully I'm asking questions of myself that resonate with you and get you thinking and you coming to your own conclusions, not mine. I don't have all the answers. I am not the expert. And I think anybody that says that they are expert pretty much get knocked down fairly quickly. But if it's making you think, if it's making you look at what you do and how you do what you do and make something understandable, then it's all been worthwhile. And that's why I did it in the first place. The podcasts are always about trying to get people to think, get people to look at, talk about, share, and understand. Hopefully that's happening. If you like the podcast, please like, share, subscribe. It's always helpful. And pass it on to your friends, colleagues, people that you connect to, because they may be helped by this without you even realising. My name's Ian Wallace. I'm the Messed Up Counsellor. Take care. Hi, thanks for listening to the podcast, and hopefully it made sense and was interesting for you. Please subscribe, like and share. With the podcasts, you never know who will be helped by the things we talk about, things we share. We don't normally tell people our problems, but by sharing it and helping other people to understand things. The book Insecurity, It's All About Me, is also available now through Amazon. And it gives you an understanding of what drives insecurity, how insecurity works within our human dynamics, and how you can get a much more secure connection with people. It gives you lots of ideas and thoughts, which is really good. So thanks for listening. Subscribe, like, share, hit the button. And if you've got any comments, please give me them, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks very much. Take care.